Guys, I have surgically attached myself to matpat. Holy smoly, she's hot! Hello, Internet! Welcome to Gremlin Theory! The only show on the Internet where showering is bad for you. Now, here recently I've been on a Gremlins craze, if you could say. And considering the hit classic is almost 30 years old this year, I say we do some Gremlin science! Now, questions that I've been pondering lately is the question of how Mogwai biology works. And most importantly, how does the metamorphosis cycle work? Well, strap on in and make sure that you ain't eating past midnight, because we're gonna be answering those questions today. Now, to understand Mogwai and Gremlin biology, we have to first understand the Mogwai. You know, the basic things like the 3 rules: 1, don't expose them to sunlight; 2, don't get them wet; and 3, don't feed them after midnight. Seems pretty basic, right? Well, those could probably actually help us in determining how the biology kind of works. So for our theory today, we'll be mostly using the whole don't expose them to sunlight and don't feed them after midnight. So we know in the first Gremlins movie that a certain amount of light will actually make the Mogwai sensitive. It doesn't necessarily hurt them from what we see, but it seems that they're very sensitive to it. It doesn't kill them like sunlight, but they don't like it. So we do know that they have some sort of internal clock, in some sort of sense. And this ties into our whole don't eat after midnight part. My theory is that the whole internal clock part of their biology, when it's past a certain time after midnight, and they just start munching and munching, there's a protein that travels its way through their body into an organ, and it jumpstarts that metamorphosis process. Cause we know that Billy in the first movie, they end up feeding the Mogwai somewhere past 12 a.m. I want to say probably 1 a.m. And if you pay attention to this Mogwai in the biology class, sometime after Billy has fed them, it is 2:25 a.m. on the clock. You, sir, kinda done goofed. Also, you wasted a perfectly good sandwich, you bit.
Mom?
Yeah?
Mom, could you come up here, please?
Now, doing some research, I could find that Kingston Falls is located in Pennsylvania from what it seems. And gathering the school times from all the middle schools in that area, it seems to be that the average start time would be 7 to 7:30 a.m. Now, if our theory is correct about them having to consume it and then digest it into proteins that go into that organ, it would have took about around 3 a.m. after Billy fell asleep for them to start secreting that mucus. That doesn't give them much time to form into cocoons, so it took about around like 3 hours. And through scouring the movie, if you look at this screenshot, the time they hatch is 11:25 p.m., which means it takes about like 8 hours for them to fully metamorphosize and then hatch. And taking evidence from the second movie, I've come to the conclusion that the amount of food a Mogwai eats determines how fast they metamorphosize. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Now in Gremlins 2, we get 4 new unique Mogwai. We get Lenny, George, Mohawk, and Daffy. And spoiler alert, they eat after midnight. To be exact, legit right at 12. So now that we got the math of how long it takes normally for them to metamorphosize, using the math here, it should determine what it takes for how long it takes for a Mogwai to metamorphosize. Now, using Lenny as our basis for how much the Mogwai actually ate in the cafe, this motherfucker eats a whole fuck ton of yogurt. We don't see how much George and Mohawk ends up eating, but considering that Mohawk was in a whole tub of M&Ms and was basically in a whole entire cafe, we can assume they ate a lot. And Daffy ends up eating an entire corn on the cob and a whole bunch of junk food. Billy ends up getting arrested, and by the time he gets bailed out, it's 6:30. And what would you know? Not only are they in the cocoons, but they have finished and they start hatching.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
Mate, that's not only fucking scary just cause they can just eat a bunch and speed up their hatching process, but get a bunch of those things sped up around in different places and you got a deadly combo, lad. So we know that the Mogwai get the protein to start the metamorphosis from food and the amount of food. And similar to a caterpillar that goes into metamorphosis, they eat a fuck ton and they use those proteins to break down their body and form a cocoon around themselves. Just like the cell division stage and the chrysalis stage. But unlike Mogwai, we know that they don't shed or molt. So the conclusion that I've come to is basically a fucked up version of both a butterfly and an amphibian, since it still allows them to still go through metamorphosis without shedding nor molting. As Moist Critical once said,
Yep, that's one fucked up dog.
so now that we know how the metamorphosis process works for Mogwais, what is the best steps to take to make sure this does not fucking happen? This already has happened at least a couple of times before Gremlins 1 and 2. This step is so easy, my grandma could do it. Legit, all you gotta do is not let a Mogwai eat past midnight. Well, what if something gets stuck in... Shut up! Well, okay. So, what entails for a Mogwai not to eat after midnight? So, what I would do personally is feed him 3 times a day. And when it gets to that time where it's 12 a.m. at night, you feed your Mogwai around 10 to 11:30. And around that time, after he eats, you make sure that he flosses. Make sure that there's no way a single ounce or speck of food can enter his stomach after 12 a.m. And congratulations, guys, you have successfully stopped your Mogwai from metamorphosizing. Yes, it only takes one step. And that's just a theory. A gremlin theory. Thanks for watching. Well, guys, please stick around because I plan on doing a lot more stuff. If this video does well, I may actually do another one. Maybe one about how Mogwai are actually DNA snatchers. Maybe. I have a Halloween video coming out soon. Sorry it's taking so long. I've been having YouTube troubles. And
I'll see you on Halloween.